Welcome back to Bama Bang. Today we're talking 9mm single stack pistols. And here in front of me I think we have three of the absolute best things on the market. You've got the Walther PPS M2 LE Edition, the Glock 43, and the Smith & Wesson M&P 9 Shield. So we're going to go over each one of these and we're going to do a different review than I think most people do. We're going to critically rank each and every one of these things and maybe do a more, I don't know, engineering, analytical comparison of these and see which one comes out on top. So stick with us. Okay, some of you may have seen this, and this is basically what I call a design matrix. And basically, I've listed all the categories through here, and I've divided them into two categories. One being objective rankings, things that are really not up for debate, things that can measure empirical data, and then subjective rankings, which there are a lot. But we're going to go over weight, overall length, width, height, the capacity, trigger pull, barrel length, and distance between sights. And I was consistent in the way I measured that on all three of these firearms. And then down here in subjective, you got ergonomics, the aesthetics or how it appears, the looks, so to speak, felt recoil, sight preference, trigger preference, concealability, case, and the original equipment that comes with it, such as magazines, the price. And I put this under subjective because this will change from area to area. And then ease of takedown, reputation / reliability, ease of reloading the magazine, and then overall I take an average of all these, and I've already done it over here. That's why I have this white page covering it all up. So we'll get into them one at a time, starting with weight. Okay, we're going to start with the objective rankings, and I'm always going to go through in the same order. This is the Walther PPS M2 over here, a law enforcement edition, the Glock 43, and then the Smith & Wesson Shield. And all these are chambered in 9mm, all single stack. Okay, so starting with the Walther PPS, it weighs 21.1 ounces. The Glock 43 weighs 17.95 ounces, which is almost 18 ounces. And the Smith & Wesson Shield is 20.8. So advantage Glock by almost 2 ounces over the nearest competitor. Going to overall length, actually, which is measured from here to here, on each one of these, you have the Walther PPS, 6.3 inches, 6.26 inches, so slightly, very slightly shorter. And then over here on the Shield you got 6.1, so advantage Shield and overall length. When it comes to width, which is measured here, this distance through here, they're all around 1 inch. Walther is 1 inch, Glock 1.02, so basically the same, and the Shield 1.12. So advantage Walther, but not by much over the Glock. When it comes to the height, and the height being measured from here to here, you've got 4.4 inches on the Walther, 4.25 on the Glock, and 4.44 on the Shield. So the Shield comes out on the losing end of that. Glock wins that one, but you also have an extra round in the Shield. Capacity, we were just talking about that. And I'm using the smallest flush magazine on all these, 6+1, 6+1, 7+1. So yes, it had additional height over the others, but not much over the Walther, and it gets an extra round. And all of these come with additional magazines that extend. All right, trigger pull, and I know this changes, but this is what the advertised trigger pull is. 6.1 on the Walther, 5.5 on the Glock 43, 6.5 on the Shield. So again, Glock winning there. Barrel length, and I think barrel length, the longer is going to be better just because it gives the bullet more stability. Walther 3.18 inches, 3.39 inches on the Glock 43, 3.1 on the Shield. So that one, the shorter it's going to be, the less accurate in general these are. That doesn't mean you can't be accurate with them. Glock 43 wins that one. Distance between sights, and I measured that from the back of the back sights to the front of the front sights. Okay, so from the very back here, and I used calipers, it was 5.3 on both of these, on the Glock and the Smith & Wesson, and 5.4, a tenth of an inch longer on the Walther. So this pretty much concludes the objective ranking. So what I did is every time one of these pistols was the best, it got a 1. If it was the second, it got a 2. If it was third, it got 3. If there was a tie, you might have one that got a 1 ranking, the others that got both 2s or 3s. And in the end, we're going to add these to the subjective rankings, take an average, and then we'll hopefully get an idea of what maybe analytically is the better pistol. Okay, now moving on to the subjective rankings. These are rankings that, you know, person A may have a differing opinion than person B, and it's not something that can be measured, but it's personal preference. But I still think it's extremely important, and sometimes for a lot of people this is going to override the objective rankings anyway, because even though weight is important when you're toting something around all day, the way it feels, the aesthetics, the ergonomics might have a bigger influence on you than something else. So for me, ergonomically, we have the Walther winning that one easily, and then the Glock, and then the Shield. I think both of these are very similar, but just the textured grip on the Glock 43 is a little bit better, I think. I think the Shield is extremely flat and very slick, and it doesn't have any bulk or change to it. And I think Walther is king when it comes to ergonomics. When it comes to aesthetics, I actually like the Shield the best, just because even though it doesn't have front serrations or anything like that, I just like the way the cutout on the slide is, the form, everything. The looks, I think, are the best on the Shield, followed by the Walther, and then I think Glock. Plain and simple, but it gets it done. Nothing against Glocks, but not going to win any battles in the aesthetics category. Now, felt recoil. But I like the Walther the best when it comes to felt recoil. Part of that is the size and the weight. The Glock is the smallest, and I thought it was the snappiest. So of course, that's logical when it comes to physics. But I have Walther winning felt recoil, followed by the Shield, and then the Glock. Glock wins in almost all the categories in objective rankings. They're not going to win as many in subjective rankings. Sight preference. Now, this is, of course, totally opinionated. The law enforcement edition for the Walther comes with, they call them phosphorescent. It's really just glow-in-the-dark sights. And I like them. I think they're nice for stock, but the distance, and I don't know if you can see this on there, probably not because I'm not looking at the camera, but once you line up the sights, the distance between these is just too much, in my opinion, for the Walther. They're doable, but they're not great. Smith & Wesson sights are just plain Jane. I actually give this to the Glock. Glock was one of my first pistols. I'm not a fanboy, but I do like the way they're set up. They're easy, and then I have Walther in second, Smith & Wesson third. Trigger preference. Now, I've shot all these guns. I know a lot about all these guns. I used to carry the Shield. I'll tell you later what gun I carry now. But I was never a fan of the hinged trigger. The paddle trigger on the Glock, and then, so when it comes to trigger preference, again, I like the Walther, and then the Glock, and then the Smith & Wesson, because I just can't get over that hinged trigger. If you can, good for you. These are all good pistols. Again, we're comparing three, in my opinion, the best pistols. Everybody's talking about the SIG P365, and I held it at SHOT Show. Impressed by the size, but you're hearing a lot of people having some issues with them, so I'm going to let them get those issues worked out before we even bring them into the conversation of three pistols that are very proven in this category. So again, for trigger preference, we got the Walther, then the Glock, and then the Smith & Wesson. Concealability, Glock's going to win that, and that's because of mostly this hilt, the handguard. What sticks out when you're concealing is typically what might give you away. So I would give that first to the Glock, and then the Walther because it's the thinnest, and then Smith & Wesson just because it's larger, but you also get that extra round, so it's all balance. Case and original equipment. We're going to pause the video now, and we're going to skip over to that, and I'm going to show you exactly what you get when the pistol comes to, when you purchase it at the store. Okay, when it comes to the cases and original equipment, for the Glock, you get a nice hard case, you open it up, comes with the pistol, comes with 2 magazines. They both hold only 6 rounds, but one of it has a little extension. I call it a pinky extension because, as you see, it doesn't give you an extra round. It gives you something to help load the magazines easier, cleaning tool, and a brush. Okay, for the Walther PPS M2 Law Enforcement Edition, again, you get a hard case. You open it up, it comes with 3 magazines. 1 flush, 1 7, and 1 8. Each extension a little bit further, so you can take it, put it in like that. It gives you more extension each one you put in. But overall, this one is very nice. It has the cutout foam and comes with, I think, the most overall equipment out the gate. Okay, last and definitely least is the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield. They just send you this cardboard box. You get the pistol in here, you get one flush magazine that holds 7, and one extended base plate that holds 8, but not much to be impressed by all means. I would definitely rate this one as the worst of the 3 when it comes to just what comes with it and the actual case. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of scroll through here the final results so you can kind of see where each one fell. And what we did is basically, like I said, we ranked them from 1 to 3 based on the empirical data, and then down here obviously we also rank them on all these categories you see, the ergonomics, aesthetics, and our final results were interesting. So we had closest number to 1 is obviously the one that was first ranked most of the time, and that ended up being the Glock 43, and then followed by the Walther at 1.84, and then finally at 2.26 the Shield. So does this mean that necessarily the Glock is just overall better than the others? Absolutely not. I don't carry it, and I can talk to a little bit about the reasons for that. Some of the felt recoil, the ergonomics. Sometimes smaller isn't better because you feel the recoil more, even if it may be a little bit easier to conceal. So we'll continue talking about that. Okay, and then price. Again, I put this in subjective rankings because it's different. We were actually able to purchase these two for exactly the same price of $349.99, $350 put it. The Glock is quite a bit more expensive, $460. That's just in our area. Your mileage may vary there, so to speak. Reputation and reliability, again, this is totally subjective. I put the Glock in first just because Glock has been around and been making such quality pistols for such a long time. And then Smith & Wesson and Walther as well have very good reputations, so it's almost a wash, slight advantage to Glock there. Ease of reloading magazine, it's just one that came up at the last minute that I thought to include. The Walther magazine is by far the most difficult of the 3 of the magazines to load. It's not really easy. Glock has the easiest magazine to reload because also you get a little tool that helps you reload it while you don't tear your fingers up. And then Smith & Wesson comes in second there. So again, average rankings, as I'll show you on this paper, 1.84 for the Walther, 1.68, and 2.26. So analytically, the Glock wins, and then the Walther, and then the Shield. But I actually carry the Walther, and the reason for that, Glock obviously wins a lot of the objective rankings like weight and all those other things, size, concealability, but I like the ergonomics, the weight on the Walther. A lot of people don't like that, but I think it makes it more shootable. But I just love the trigger. That's one of the reasons I switched from the Smith & Wesson to the Walther, is because of the trigger. But in the end, you can't go wrong with any of these. I just thought we would do a different video, more analytical as opposed to just he said, she said, and actually look at the objective rankings, the subjective rankings, and try to help you make a better decision as to which single stack 9 you ought to pick. So I hope this has been helpful.